to eat the fruit from Eretz Yisrael? We say no. He wanted to go in order to be able to fulfill all the commandments. So this is basically that in everything that relates regarding the Jewish woman, it is relating to this physical world, down to earth. We find it also in regards to the difference between our patriarchs and matriarchs, between our forefathers, the Ovis, Avram, Yitzchak, Yankov, and our Imois, the mothers of the Jewish nation, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. When it came to the Ovis, to our forefathers, they related also to this physical world. But it was all not the physical world as the physical world, but the physical world as it related to their spiritual service and connection to Hashem, to the Almighty. So in a sense, it wasn't completely down to earth. But when it came to the Imois, which are the matriarchs, and especially we speak about Sarah. Sarah saw it down to earth. She saw that Yishmael is going to be a problem. She said, I don't want him to befriend my son Yitzchak. After Sarah passed away, we see the after effect of what Sarah accomplished in her lifetime. The name of the parsha that we speak about Sarah passing away is called Chai Sarah, the life of Sarah. So the Rebbe asked the question, why is it called the life of Sarah? It's after she passed away. All of a sudden it says the life of Sarah. So the answer that the Rebbe gives a very deep insight, that when do we know what they accomplished? When we see what is after that. We see that that's when Avraham Avinu bought land. He needed to bury Sarah. He bought the Moras HaMachpelah, which is the cave of our forefathers, which is till this very day. To the extent that the Medrash says, there are 3 places that the Jewish nation paid full price. One of them is Moras HaMachpelah. They paid a big price for this, to Ephraim, 400 Eresh Skolim. Another place is Kever Yosef, the place of Yosef, the resting place of Yosef. And the third place is the Mokem HaMikdash. And guess what? These are the 3 places that have the most trouble with it till this very day. That the others feel that the others want to take it away. They say that they want it. And people's lives are in danger in these areas. So Chassidus explains this is basically the difference between Ovis and Imois. The Ovis looked from above to below. Looking above to below, they are above, but they are looking below. They need something physical? Okay, they did a mitzvah. Yaakov Avinu did a mitzvah, fulfilled the mitzvah of tefillin, putting on phylacteries, but he didn't put on the phylacteries. He used canes for that. And the canes that he was using for the sheep. What happened after that? There was no holiness left. It did not become sacred. Like when you write something on parchment, it becomes a sacred matter. This doesn't become sacred. It actually is. There was no kedusha there. When it came to the Imois, as we see in regards to Chai Sarah, 3 things that took place in Parsha Chai Sarah. One is that it attained land; it became Jewish property, and then there was the Shidduch of Yitzchak, which is the continuity of the Jewish nation, and then the continuation of the Parsha, as the Parsha mentions further the different things, after effects that came from Sarah. And this is basically also in regards to the dwelling place, to making a dwelling place in this physical world. A dwelling place has to have Dira Noah, it has to be a beautiful place. So the Gemara tells us in Brachas, the Talmud, there are 3 things that that broaden the mind of a person. One is Dira Noah, a beautiful dira, a beautiful house. Another one is Kalim Noah, beautiful vessels. And then Isha Noah, beautiful woman. A beautiful woman means within and without. Both from within and from without. It's basically so the Rebbe says that the women have this potential to accomplish that this world should have Kalim Noim, beautiful dishes, beautiful vessels, which are Teiro mitzvahs, and that prepares the dwelling place for the Almighty. And especially the women in our generation, it's mentioned in Kabbalah, are basically the same neshamas that were in the time of the Midbar, the desert, the 40 years of the desert. So these neshamas today, the Arizal says they are the same neshamas. Of Ikvis of the Mashiach, they're the same neshamas of that. So the Rebbe inspired many times, the Rebbe spoke about the Jewish woman, the potential that they have, that they represent, and the neshamas that lived in the time of the desert, of the 40 years in the desert, which are general neshamas. General neshamas. And also, this is also preparation for the upcoming redemption, which also in the upcoming redemption, it says, Eishes Chayil Ateres Baila, that then the woman will be the mashpia, will be the one giving, and the man will be the one receiving. Because in a sense, if we're speaking in regards to the woman, we find very interesting in Kabbalah, we have the letters, the 4 letters of the Almighty's name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. The last K, the second K, is the one that represents Malchus, which is basically the feminine. The first Hey also represents the feminine. It is basically the Bina. Bina is considered the wife of Chochmah. It is considered the receiver of Chochmah. This is the first Hey. The second Hey is that Malchus is the receiver of Zoh, of her husband. So it says that when it comes to the Jewish woman, it says that she has 2 extremes. On one hand, it's Bina Yisera Nitna Bisha. She has this intuition that a man, a husband, could argue with his wife and say, I look at it different. But she said her intuition, and her intuition is one that she has a deeper insight to know exactly what's ahead and what's lying within a certain puzzle. On the other hand, she is the one that's practical, one that it comes down in a physical state. She's the one that relates to the world, because Malchus is basically connected with time and place. Because in order there should be royalty, which is Malchus, you need to have a nation. In order to have a nation, you need to have time and place. Ein melech b'layam, and therefore you need time and place, and this is what Institute accomplishes, time and place in the lower worlds. According to Kabbalah, this begins from Malchus. Because before that, there is no time and place, but there is a sequence in a spiritual sense, but not really time and place as we know it in the lower worlds. And therefore, this is also the explanation in regards to Rachel. By Rachel, we find in this week's Parsha that Rachel, Vani Bevei Mepadan, it says that she passed away. Rachel passed away. Where did he bury her? He buried her in the Beis Lechem, which today already, even if a person wants to take a picture, we don't have any more of those legendary pictures from Kever Rachel. It's a fortress now, with a wall and another wall. And today it's a collector's item, these pictures. So the Rebbe asked a question. Rachel passed away, and she was not buried in the Moras HaMachpelah, where her sister is lying, Bilhah and Zilpah are lying, Sarah, Rivka are laying. And who is saying it to who? Yaakov is saying it to Yosef. He says, listen, I need a favor from you. After my 120, I want to be taken to Eretz Yisrael. And in the middle, Yaakov brings in a word. He says, Vani bevei, but I didn't do so. So the Rebbe says he's defeating his purpose. He wants a favor from Yosef, and he's saying to Yosef, listen, I didn't do this to your mother. How does he expect that Yosef is going to fulfill his wishes? So the Rebbe says, this is what Rashi says. I know, Yesh Belibcha Alai, that you might have hard feelings about it, but I was instructed by the Almighty that this was for the future generations, when they will be going in exile, they will need to stop, and they will stop by Rachel, and that's why I needed to place her in this location. So the Rebbe asked the question, still, everything is good and fine, but why should Rachel suffer? Why should Rachel suffer that she should be laying there, and laying for who is this? For people that sinned, and she has to go out and pray for them. And she accomplished. As it says that when it was the destruction of the temple, it says that she pushed it, all of them went up, Moshe Rabbeinu went to the resting places of the office, our forefathers, and he went and he said, Avram, Yitzchak, Yankov, wake up, it's a time of trouble. He went to Moshe, went to Aaron, he was screaming. Then it says, comes Rachel, everybody went up to pray and to intervene. It didn't work. Comes Rachel, she jumped up, she says, I'm the one that gave myself away in order that my sister shouldn't be embarrassed. I gave her the different codes, and therefore she was not embarrassed. So the Eibishter, the Almighty, answers that Mini Kelech Mebechi, refrain from crying, Vishavu Vanim Digvulam, the children will return to their borders. It's interesting, when they freed the Kever Rachel, this is when the theme after the 6-day war was Vishavu Vanim Digvulam. They're speaking about it a lot then. But it seems like we still have to get back Ligvulam, because it's not really a complete Vishavu Vanim Ligvulam. So the Rebbe says, what do we see from this? that on one hand, Rachel had a choice. She could be. The Rebbe says, what actually took place over here? Why did she have to suffer? The Rebbe says she had to suffer. Not that she suffered. The Rebbe says she chose to be laying there. The Rebbe says, and although she had two choices, one choice was to lay with her husband, and this is affecting thousands of years that she's laying separate.
Wow.
To lay with her husband together. On the other hand, to intervene and pray and bring out mercy for children, not tzaddikim. Children that chotu v'galu, that sinned and were exiled. So she chooses the latter in order to stand up for her children. And this is the sacrifice that she did for her children. The same thing we also find in regard to Megillas Esther, how Esther intervened for the Jewish nation, the Mesiras Nefesh, the self-sacrifice, how she fasted. And this in itself was a miracle. The Rebbe says, find someone that's fasting 3 days, she should find charm in a person's eyes. So although we think everything went in a very natural way, she was managing one meal, one fasted meal, a second fasted meal, and she was the wife of Achashverosh. But together with that, the Rebbe says, when we think about it a minute, how does that make sense? Motza chen be'einav. He was taka tipish. The Achashverosh was a fool. But together with that, we're talking here about someone that understands world, and he looks at his wife after she fasted 3 days, and Motza chen be'einav, he extends the rod to her. So this in itself is a miracle. So the Rebbe explains what is the difference between Mordechai and Esther on the same way as Zohar Malchus, husband and wife. Mordechai is basically the focus of the light, the revelation. Esther says no, it has to come down to nature. Esther is from the word concealed. She's dealing with the darkness. The Talmud tells us, how do we know Esther from Torah? It says, "Vanechi haster aster." The Eibishter conceals himself. This is the how it's alluded in the Torah. And therefore Esther deals with the darkness and breaks through the darkness, dealing with world. And this is basically the concept of the Jewish woman. On one hand, the intuition, which is beyond understanding. On the other hand, in a practical sense, down to earth, dealing with world, refining world. And therefore, when they came into Egypt, who was the 70th one that came in was Yechevet. She was the one that completed their number. And that number brought about later the potential that they should be able to refine Egypt and then come out of Egypt and bring the ultimate redemption. And as it's mentioned in Medrash, in Megillas Rus, in a Medrash of Rus, it's mentioned that Bischus, that the same thing is also in regards to the upcoming redemption. It will be in the merit of the Noshim Tzidkonias, the women, the Jewish women in their generation, that they will bring about the redemption.
So much. Any questions? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It says that the women are the women today are the reincarnated of the women of the desert 40 years later. What about the men? Does it mention anything of the men reincarnated?
It says I think in general that the day of Ikvis of the Mashiach, I think in general it says not only women but also men. But I have to verify it clearly. But as far as I remember, it's Gilgulim. But actually, the Rebbe was stressing more the women from the Arizal, from Kisvei Arizal.
Mentioned that